provocation from the protesters, but nothing of sort happened, and we started seeing, tear gas, dropping at the center of where the protesters are, and then with this choking fog, having a very serious impact on the eyes. Some persons were even, rushed out of the protest ground because they collapsed. They couldn't bear it.
That's sad.
It was really a tense situation at the 3-arm zone. And even as I speak to you, the protesters, they just retreated a bit, but they are saying they won't back down and their voices must be heard.
So where exactly are they now?
Well, the 3-arm zone, like you know, it's quite extensive.
Yes.
From the Ministry of Finance to the Ministry of Foreign Affairs to the head of service,
the appeal court,
to the appeal court, and then to the entrance to the National Assembly. Because of the tear gas canisters that were, fired at protesters, they had to retreat. They pushed back. So at the moment, they are within the perimeter of the Ministry of Finance and, of course, the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. That is where they are currently, trying to get themselves together. But they said they are not backing down.
They are not backing down. You interacted with a number of them. Apart from the former interviews we were having with them on live television, I'm sure some of them must have poured out their minds in one way or the other. What are they expecting with this protest? What are they expecting to get from this protest?
Well, I think the primary thing, and that has been the constant variable in everything that's happened in the previous days, is the fact that the prices of food items are skyrocketing. Most of the persons we talked to, most of the persons we had interactions with, observed that the staple foods, as it is known, gari particularly,
the
rice
usual
and
poor man's food.
Exactly, they can no longer afford them. You get. Someone was even saying that gari with 100 naira before, he said he came to Abuja in 2017. And in 2017, he said with 100 naira, he can buy gari, he can buy groundnut, he can buy sugar.
With 1,000 naira.
Exactly. But at the moment, to get gari, I think one mudu should be 1,500 naira or thereabout. So their concern is that basic things that citizens could afford, before, it's no longer possible for them to afford it. And then they can no longer keep quiet. Interestingly, like I said, during the course of the live crossing, we even had people who had come to protest on behalf of the government, who have come to dissuade people from protesting, coming out to say, they are hungry and all of that. So I find it very, very interesting, as it were, because people who are supposed to be, dissuading other people from protesting, are now, taking the initiative.
No, but they said something, because I paid attention when you were talking to them. They said, yes, they are hungry, things are really bad, but the protest is not the solution, that they do not want anything to be destroyed. It's like what we have. Don't let's lose it in the name of protest. Let's still protect what we have while we push for more. And we can see quite some violent turnout. We just had the one of Kano. Imagine that kind of a building, a reasonable answer to the technological need of the nation.
That's true.
That's been raised. In Maraba, we hear that cars are being burnt. Somebody even said, somebody was, I don't want to just say, since we've not been able to confirm, but things are certainly not looking good. I remember we drove out a while ago just to see if we could get fuel somewhere. And we saw people hanging all over the place, carrying leaves. Soldiers were chasing them. They were afraid of the soldiers, but they were not backing down. It was quite a surprise, because usually they say when soldiers come out, protesters disappear.
Exactly.
They are not disappearing.
That's the situation also at the 3-arm zone. We have almost all the security formations stationed at the 3-arm zone.
I think we're seeing the tear gas, the bonfire. I can see the smoke of the tear gas. I can see bonfire. That should be about Maraba.
Yeah, that's the Abuja Kefi. That's the
Maraba
Kefi
axis.
Yeah. That's the Abuja Kefi Highway. So it's something that one finds it difficult to explain, because between the time we set out from the National Stadium and approaching the Eagles, where no one thought that something like that would happen.
So what would you say to the security forces in the light of what you witnessed?
Well, I'm sure that they have their rules of engagement cut out for them. And I'm also very sure that during the build-up to this protest, they've had reasons to engage with their superiors. And I'm sure they've been trained and they understand how to manage situations like this. But it's important for them to show some restraint, particularly as regards the attack, unprovoked attack, as many of the protesters described it. So I think for the rest of the hours of the day and maybe for the rest of the protest days, I think it's also important for their commanders and those that are in charge to also call them to order in terms of how they engage with these protesters.
But you would also agree that it's a two-way thing. There was a court injunction restricting them to a particular place, and they felt that that was not enough. They needed to come out and air their voices. They have a right. The court also gave an injunction. Isn't it a bit confusing? I mean, tell me, what do you have to say?
Nobody needs to in implementing its orders as it were. The order was very clear. It said, publish this order in the National Daily. That's a way to serve the protest organizers. The question is, was that order published in the National Dailies as directed by the court? If it was not published, it means
so late.
It means it means it was not even served on the protesters, because the court was very clear. If you publish it, it will be deemed as being served on the protesters.
And papers had gone to bed by the time that injunction came out.
So it's what it is, but clearly.
I think that the authorities should consider the fact that papers had gone to bed and that a lot of the protesters may not be aware of that order. I don't know. It's their job. They need to do their job. Let's have more visuals from the protests from different states.
Ubonam.
All right, so we have more for you as we bring you details of the protests, the end bad governance or hunger protests across the country. Right now we have a security analyst, Jonathan Onoja, and he would lend his voice to some of the analysis ongoing about this protest. Mr. Onoja, are you there? You have seen the violent dimension that the protest has taken in a lot of states, not just Abuja here, Rivers State. We saw some people lying on the floor. They say Kano is a no-go area right now. Almost all the state things are turning violent. Mr. Jonathan, what do you have to say about this?
All right. Good afternoon to you, my dear. I hope you can hear me over there. Can you hear me over there, please?
Okay, Mr. Noja, you need to sit back a bit so that your face can show very well. You need to sit back. Thank you.
Okay, great. Can you hear me?
You have the microphone now.
All right, thank you so much. All right. As regards the violence, the situations around the protests for today, I think it was anticipated now, and this is one reason why some of us made a position clear that the rules of the sweat must be. However, can you hear me, please? Can you hear me over there? Hello, can you hear me?
Naja, you still have the mic. We're listening to you.
All right, great. Thank you. Now, the protesters do not also understand what they call protests.